Well, time to go to work today. 124, 85 degrees outside. Nice day. Not too hot. I'll be right back. Don't go away. Hey, how's it going? Who's here? Hey, how's it going, Justin? What's up? How's everybody feeling today? Let's see who else is in here. Somebody else in here. Hey, Richard, Bud, how's it going? Justin, welcome. I'll be reading the chat afterwards, seeing who came in. Yep. So how's everybody doing? Anything exciting today? It's 127 here, 85 degrees, California. Nice weather today. Too bad we can't have this kind of weather year round. Okay. Let's see. Avocados, 20 for $5. Yummy, yummy. Yep. Avocados from Mexico. Yeah, it's from Mexico. Well, how's everybody doing today? Going to work. Today's my Friday, so I'll be home. I'll be off the next couple of days. So, but yeah, let's see. What we're talking about. All the people that when I was working at the hospital and stuff. Oh, and I was talking about my aunt. You know, she lived in El Monte. You know, and you know she had poodles. She had this one poodle. It was pretty big, and she used to always, you know, she would like all of a sudden, you know, just kind of fart, you know, and she turned around and like, who did that? You know, like trying to blame somebody else for her gas problem. And my aunt she used to feed the dog Calcan. You know, I don't know if anybody has ever bought that brand of dog food. I don't know if it's even still around. This is back in the 70s, and she used to get it was like a 12 ounce, like I'd say about a 10 ounce, 12 ounce can. and she would only give him like half of the can, you know, and the other half she had a little bowl, you know, or a little plate to put it into, you know. They put it in the fridge so it wouldn't go bad for the next day. Well, the funny thing is, my uncle, he came home one day and he was, you know, looking for something to eat, and so then you know, he found that little plate with the dog food in it, but he didn't know it was dog food. You know, because it looked like you know, like kind of like chunks of beef, you know, kind of like beef stew. So he warmed up a tortilla and made a burrito, and then he's eating it, you know. And I mean, he's eating half of it already, almost. And then he's all, "Hey, honey, you know, hey, this is pretty good. What you made?" And then she goes, "What do you mean? I didn't make anything." And she's all like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, it was in the fridge, in that little bowl." "What?" "In the bowl." And he goes, "Yeah, that's dog food." Oh man. My uncle's like, "Oh," but you know, hey, it's edible. You know, they say it's even safer than regular human. You know, because the canning of all those foods, no human hands pretty much touch it. You know, it's all machine stuff. You know, so and it goes through. I mean, people care more about the food for dogs than food for people. You know, and sometimes I think, you know, I guess this guy up ahead had a flat tire. There's an old piece of tire out back there. Oh yeah, he's got a flat tire on his outside wheel. He's still going. I guess he's trying to look for a good spot to stop. Probably gonna end up losing another tire if he keeps going. Probably would have been better off changing it, or maybe you don't have a spare. Maybe that's why. But he's not too far from town. He can go to a tire shop, but it's gonna be kind of far from the freeway. Yeah, so yeah, my aunt, you know, it's like, oh, that you're eating the dog food, you know. Hey, I remember back when I was in high school, there was an old guy that lived by where we live. He had a bunch of dogs. There we go. Hey, we're back. I got a bad spot here. This little area of the freeway. Never get good reception of this guy on a motorcycle. Yeah, so you know, you can see what's yeah, lost my train of thought here. Yeah, so you know, she had these dogs and she's always feeding them, and then oh yeah, I was talking about that lived in our neighborhood. This guy, everybody was saying that supposedly he was eating just canned dog food. The reason they were saying that was because everybody. Okay, yeah. So this guy, everybody's, oh yeah, this guy's eating dog food because they would look through his trash and it's all they would find in the trash was cans of dog food. I mean, he had a bunch of dogs, but you know, it's like, hey, you know, I don't see any other kind of trash in there except for cans of dog food. So, and you know, back in the '70s, you know, I guess dog food was pretty cheap. You know, so and I mean, it's made from real meat. You know, just like cat food. You know, there's cat food that has fish in it. You know, and stuff like that. But you know, dog food. You know, they make it out of beef products. You know, I think they also use horse. I think they also use horse meat. I think, but you know, mostly beef. I think like some of them, you know, depending on their fillers. You know, they got probably corn. I don't know what else they would probably put in the dog food. But yeah, so everybody's all, yeah, this guy's eating dog food and dog food. You know, and then so you know, it's like you know, you start. everybody talks in the neighborhood that I don't know. I mean, who knows if he was? Maybe he wasn't. You know, but I mean, nobody ever saw any other trash in the trash. And oh, there was one time I was working for when I was still like in high school. You know how you work part time jobs and stuff like that. So I was working at the immigration office. You know where they fix the vehicles. Because I was gonna I went to school for to become a mechanic. So I went to this place and where they fix all the border patrol vehicles. They pretty much do all the oil changes, brakes, transmission. We took out transmissions, and sent them out to get rebuilt, brakes and stuff like that. And so one day, me and another guy, because there was another guy also, they worked there too part time, just helping out. And then there was the main mechanic, that knew everything pretty much. But then he was kind of stubborn. You would tell him something and he's like, you don't know nothing. This guy was supposedly he was in the Korean War, and he told us a story, and then he even showed us. He had a. I mean, I don't know if it was true. Maybe it was, but he said that when he was in the Korean War, he was fighting, and back in the Korean War, they had those bayonets. They had the bayonets on the rifles. So he was like, they were coming at him. There was a battle going on, and he said the Koreans were coming at him. I think it was also, I don't know if there was Japanese in it too. I forget in the Korean War, but he was in Korea when he was in Korea fighting. Who exactly he was fighting? But he's like, here comes some guy, with a rifle at him, he's running right at him, and he has the bayonet, and then he's all like, oh, and then he was gonna shoot him, and he had his rifle, but the guy with the bayonet, he like hit his rifle out of his hands, with the bayonet, and then he like he stabbed him, but he got stabbed at the time, but he went like into him and then went upward. So then this guy that stabbed him with the bayonet, he after he died, he was gonna go and stab him again because he fell back. And when he fell back, he lost his rifle, but he still had his handgun. So he said he pulled out his handgun and he started like he shot the guy, a bunch of times and killed him. And then he felt he didn't think that he got injured, so he gets up. He said all of a sudden he kind of feels like warmth, like liquid, coming, from his belly. So he opens up his shirt, and the guy cut him open. Kind of like they say, like you're opened like a pig. When they open up a pig and get all the guts out. That's pretty much what happened to him. He said he got stabbed, ripped open. He ripped open his stomach. Luckily, it didn't. He didn't. It didn't. I guess it didn't hit any vital organs. So basically, but his guts basically fell out. He said, oh, his guts were in his hands. They're all over his hands, like his guts. And he was like, oh, and then he just fell back and started yelling, medic, medic, and then the medic came, and then I guess they saved his life, Good thing he didn't get, but then I don't know if I don't know if that after that he didn't go back because when you get certain injuries they don't send you back. So yeah, so he was telling us that story. But then so this day we're working in the shop, and then if we get we would get orders from vehicles, they give us the tag, the name of the number of the vehicle and the license plate, and they kind of write up a tag, of what's wrong with it, because these guys that are working in immigration, they don't know anything about cars. They don't even know how to. They're supposed to check the vehicle. They're supposed to check it, make sure it has water at least, make sure it has oil, brake fluid, they transmission fluid. They're supposed to do these checks. But these guys, some of these guys don't even know how. One of the guys goes up to me, and goes, "Hey, how do you take the radiator cap off?" Well, I told him, "Well, if it's on, you don't want to really take it off, especially if it's hot. You're gonna burn yourself. But you push down on it, and then turn it, and it goes around that block, and then you can open it." It's like, "Oh, okay." And we used to also do the spotlights. Man, those spotlights were so bright. If you would turn those spotlights on, you couldn't put your hand in front of it because your hand would start burning, like, because it was so hot, like fire. It was, I forget how many. It was like over 1,000 candles or 2,000 candles. I forget the power of it, but it was like, oh man, I'm like, them things are hot. So we used to replace those also when they break them. Well, the vehicle that we had this one vehicle. It was up on jack stands. We put it up, we lifted it up, put it on jack stands. We had to pull out the transmission out of it because this guy, he blew up the transmission pretty much. He wrecked it. I mean, these guys, they don't know. They're like chasing somebody in the vehicle. This guy's chasing somebody in the vehicle. He's going, in drive. He's going maybe 20 miles an hour, but the guy starts running the other way. So what does this guy do? He throws it. He doesn't do a complete stop. He just sticks it in reverse and boom. It's gonna blow up the damn transmission. You're going 20 miles an hour. You're gonna mess up the transmission. But that didn't really mess up the transmission. It still kept going. He messed up a little bit of it, and then he's like driving. He's driving all these off roads. With the vehicle, and then all of a sudden, the vehicle. He hits a big rock. So he pretty much made a big hole in the side of the transmission. So all the fluid, came out and stuff. So we had to replace the transmission. So we're under there taking apart the transmission. It's all and then we finally took it down, disconnected everything, the drive line, took off the starter, and then took off the bolts, and then pretty much it just pulled it out, dropped it on the floor on a jack, and so then he gives me another tag. He goes, "Hey, go bring this vehicle." And then I read the tag. It says, "Hey, that no brakes. That this vehicle has no brakes." I'm like, "No brakes? Oh shit!" So it's in the parking lot. It's a pretty big size parking lot, and so I get in it. And I back. First I get in and turn it on. I turn on the vehicle, and I step on the brake. Eh, brakes seem to be working. I don't know what this guy's talking about. I thought, at first, so I'm like, okay. And I stepped on it again. I put the vehicle in reverse. So then I started backing up a little bit, stepped on the brake, it stopped, went back. Then I started moving forward, and then I'm like, okay, well, it's stopped like 3-4 times. This guy's talking about. So then I'm going forward. Then all of a sudden, I go, I'm gonna. It's a parking lot, like a circle parking lot. So I'm gonna go around. So I gotta, I'm not going that fast in the parking lot, maybe 5 miles an hour. So then I go to step on the brakes, and the brakes completely go to the floor. I mean, my foot hits the bottom of the floorboard, and I'm like, what the heck? And the car's not stopping. I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna crash into something. So I'm like, okay, I'm looking where I'm going, and then I see there's this open parking spot. And there's a sidewalk in front. So I'm like, I'm just gonna aim it toward that way, and then I slam on the emergency brake. Step on the emergency brake because that's gonna work no matter what. If the fluids, if something's wrong with the master cylinder or the wheel cylinders or the calipers, and I stopped. It barely stopped, like right before I hit the sidewalk. So I was like, oh man, ooh, man, my blood like went down. Like, oh man, I'm gonna crash here, get fired for crashing the vehicle. So then I get out of the vehicle, and then I go tell the guy over there. I go, the main mechanic. And I told him, I go, hey, you know what? Hey, that car, it has no brakes. I'm not gonna drive it because I'm gonna are gonna end up crashing and won't be able to stop. So I'm like, and then he's like, he told me, you're stupid, you're an idiot, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Yeah, give me the damn paper, give me the keys. Okay. So then this guy, he goes, and then I tell the other guy, I go, hey man, you better watch out, move out of because he was underneath the other car. I go, you know what, get out from under the car, because this guy's he's gonna mess up, and I bet you he's gonna crash it. No, you think so? I'm like, watch, because I was driving the car and I know what's gonna happen. So what does he do? He does the same exact thing I did. He steps on turns it on, steps on the brakes. Hey, it works fine and everything. So backs it up, it stops and stops. So then he probably goes, this guy's an idiot, And then he doesn't just go slow. He like goes around the corner. He's going like 15, I don't know, probably at least 10 miles an hour in the parking lot. And then he's all like coming toward us, where that car is, the one that's on Fort Jacks. So then I'm like, oh shit. And I'm like, told him, come on this way, get out of the way. He's not gonna stop. And then he's like, hey, same thing as me. He slams on the brakes. That thing, it just went boom right underneath the other car, knocked it off the jack stands. The damn car fell on top of the hood. Everything. It was like, he gets out of the car. He's all pissed, yelling, going, damn it, because now he's gonna have to do a report. And I told him, I go, hey, I told you, dude. Shut up. And he was all like, damn it, shit. Now I gotta do a damn report on this. Damn accident report. I'm like, hey, I told you. That's why I didn't want to drive it over here. But you didn't want to believe me. And look, same thing. But yeah, it was funny, man. I was like cracking up. and then I was working on. I was doing the front brakes on some car. I forget what vehicle it was. The calipers. And then he's all like, oh well, that I told him, you know what? I think these brakes don't, because he told me like, okay, this is the way they go on there. He showed me, and I'm trying to put them on there. They're not fitting. And I told him, I go, you know what? I don't think that's the right way. I think it's a different way. No, you don't know shit. I'm the mechanic, and you're just a helper, and just do what I tell you, and all this. Okay. And I was turning on, you know what? It ain't gonna work, man. It's not working. These brakes aren't fitting the caliper. And yeah, I mean, he tried to do it, and he ended up flipping them around. They were the wrong. Actually, I think they were the wrong brake pads. Yeah, he ended up getting some other ones, and I told him, I go, see, I told you, but you didn't want to believe me. He's all like, And then I guess he got mad after a while, and then he's like, he's like, oh, okay, he didn't like people telling him that he was wrong, I guess, So I'm like, oh, okay, whatever, you do get some people like that, So I'm like, okay. And then I only did that for like, just for a couple of months. But yeah, that was funny, man, that the guy, did that. Yeah, so then I had automotive in high school. They teach you brakes, take apart, carburetors and brakes and stuff like that. And then there was a teacher there, and he was also the coach of the cross country team. And this teacher, he had he drove a Cadillac, and then he goes, okay, I want to drive my Cadillac in here. You guys gonna look and see what's wrong with it, and just don't worry, just tell me what it needs, So we look it up, look at it, pop the hood, check it out. It was a Cadillac Eldorado. It was I forget what year, but it was from the 70s. And then we look inside, and then I'm like, oh, his name was Mr. Armstrong. And I go, hey, Mr. Armstrong. Well, for one thing, you need an air conditioning belt. Now they have one belt only to run everything. Back then there was like 3-4 belts. You had one for the air conditioning, one for the power steering, one for the water pump and the alternator, another one. So you had 2 or 3, or sometimes four belts. And then I go, hey, for one thing, you need a belt for your air conditioning. You go, what? Well, he had a tie. a tie that you wear. That was the fan belt that was on there. It was so funny. You're like, you got a fan belt in there. You got a tie inside. There's a fan belt. So like, yeah, I already know that. Don't worry about that. But I guess hey, whatever works. As long as it turns whatever it has to turn. It works. In an emergency. I guess it'll work. Tie. Even a rope. You can probably put a rope on there. Just make a certain knot. So that way you can tighten it a bit. Hey, an emergency, you can do stuff like that. But yeah, and then I remember we had a vehicle because the high school was gonna do this like a fundraiser for the high school for the football team. So we got an old car, and then they were gonna paint it, spray paint it with Go Team and the other team's name on it, and then people were gonna get a chance, to hit the car, with a sledgehammer. So we had to, it still had windows in it. So the teacher goes, hey, we need to, so nobody gets hurt. We need to break all the windows, the windshield, the rear window, and the four other windows. So we got a hammer, the side windows. If you hit it with a hammer, they basically back then. Now they kind of like break different. They're not gonna cut you, but they basically, you would hit them, they would like break like glass, shard, and then they started making them better, so people wouldn't get injured in an accident. But then the front windows, they would go like kind of like, if you would hit it one spot, you would kind of like make a hole in it only, and it would like kind of like go like a spider web kind of, a bunch of cracks in it. But the teacher goes, no, there's like certain spots that you can hit the windshield, as he called it, the sweet spot, where if you hit it there, the whole window would go out. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he showed us, and we hit it, and yeah, boom, back window would completely go on, and the front one, we did the same thing. Then after that, we got all the windows cleaned up all the glass, from the car, because we don't want nobody to cut themselves. And then they fixed it up. The class, for the football team, they came and painted it with spray cans. Yeah, and then that lunch hour, they put it out they moved it over there by the cafeteria, and then everybody was, paying like, I think it was like, I don't know if it was $1.50. Hey, raise money, so boom, they would get to hit the car. I think they would give them at least 5 hits, and show how tough they were, But yeah, you had a lot of fun hitting the car, and stuff. And so there was this one teacher that in high school, I remember, his name was Mr. Holt, and he was the drafting teacher. And he basically showed you drafting and stuff. And this teacher, he was real strict. Like if you were late, he would make you either you go, okay, he's all like, what do you want to do? He goes, you had to like run to a tree, bring him a branch, a leaf from this tree that was right there by his classroom in a certain time limit, or else you would get punished even more, or you would, he would say, you'd have to be a certain amount of minutes in the push-up, like doing push-ups, like push-up position. And then the other one was watching TV. And everybody's watching TV. They're all like, hey, Bob. He goes, what do you do? What do you do when you're watching TV? Well, you're sitting down and you're messing with the knobs, changing the channel and the volume. Back then they didn't have, the remote controls we have nowadays. So it was like, change the channel, So it's all like, oh, well, I guess I'll do that. That sounds easy. But no, sitting down wasn't sitting on a chair. You were squatting. Basically, you're squatting and you're not even you're not even leaning against the wall or anything. You're just squatting in the squat position, and you're going with your hands, both hands in the air, going like back and forth, for like 5 minutes. So it's like and then he would come around, the classroom. Back then, there was no such thing as like like now, if a teacher put his hands on you, you could sue them, take them to court, for even touching you. Back then they would swat you. They had those wooden paddles and stuff, and I'm like, it's like, hey, torture. And your parents, they would sign a waiver. You could take a home, all those papers every first of the year. Hey, sign there that it was called corporal punishment. To teach your children how to behave. Yeah, you beat them in the butt with a wooden stick. so then this teacher, he would come behind you. Here we are drawing, drawings. He would give you a drawing, and then you'd have to do this formula, and then make it be able to be in the middle, because you had a certain size of page, and you had to figure out how to draw it. It was a 3D drawing, so it would look 3D after you finished drawing it, and then but you had to do the formula because one of the corners had to start at a certain spot. So it was a measurement, it was a formula you could do, and then from there you would start drawing your drawing. And I was good at drafting. I think I should have taken drafting class better. Maybe went into drawing, automotive vehicles or houses even. I mean, they probably make real good money, But I decided to be a mechanic, and so then he would come behind you, and he would like right on your your shoulder, where your what do you call it, your clavicle, your muscle there. He would like come and pinch you with his fingers, like try to go, so you go, oh, like, and then it's funny because he would come and he'd grab me, and I wouldn't even flinch. I'd like, yeah, hey, thanks for the massage. I would kind of, and they would, yeah, he'd get pissed off. He wouldn't bother me because, hey, it wouldn't affect me. And then the funny thing is, he was very strict, and then one day he was sick. He was sick that day, and then so we had a substitute. And substitutes, they're you're gonna get away with a lot of shit when there's a substitute teacher. So this substitute teacher, comes in, and then I'm doing my homework and shit, because I know when the teacher's not there, but when he gets there the next day, he's gonna find out what happened, and we're all gonna get punished. But people, they start acting up, not doing their homework, and acting stupid, and so the teacher, lets them do what they want. But guess what? Next day, Mr. Holt comes back, and then he's all, hey, so I heard you guys had a lot of fun yesterday when I wasn't here. I heard you threw a party, and I wasn't even here, and all this. And then we're like, oh shit. I go, I know where this is going. He's gonna punish us. And then in the classroom we have stools, and then we have these special desks that the desk, for drawing. You can elevate where you're drawing, that level. It would elevate, like at an angle, so you can draw better. And we had special pencils, because normally in school you just use a normal number 2 pencil, but there's other numbers, of pencils, lighter, and then you had a special eraser to so you don't leave any marks on the drawing, because like if you had to do a little shading or in the drawing or stuff like that. So you had a real, it was it was an eraser that would fall apart. You've seen those orange, like kind of orange colored erasers, but then there's these other erasers that are like a little cube. They're kind of like a brown, almost like a brown tannish color. Those are for drafting, and then it cleans the paper, cleans the pencil better, and also it doesn't leave any marks, like stuff on it. At least at least your work done, better quality. So then he's all like, so you guys threw a party yesterday, and then shit, I'm like, that's it. Well, since you guys had so much energy yesterday, well, I guess all you guys, can do all your homework standing up. So for a whole hour, we had to do our homework, drawing and everything standing up. And I didn't care, it didn't bother me. And there was this one kid, he wasn't there. He wasn't there that day. He's all, Mr. Holt, I don't think I should get punished because I wasn't here. I was absent. And then he goes, yeah, right, yeah, you were absent, but we know that if you would have been here, you would have been involved too. So that's it. You're doing it too, so you couldn't get away with it. So he ended up doing the same thing. Everybody, stand up. Time to do your homework, standing up. But yeah, he was great. And then we had another teacher. This teacher was Mr. Wood. Mr. Wood, and this guy, he was the math teacher. It was a pre-algebra, and this teacher, he wouldn't even teach you. It was he basically he would tell you, he'd go sit there and shut up, don't do anything wrong, don't make any noise, and I'll pass you with a D. You'll pass the class with a D. And I mean, you like, come on, you get bored in the class. And then this teacher, he would always, once everybody got in, he was the only teacher that would lock his door, so nobody could open the door, because what would happen back then, kids would they had water balloons, and they'd run around, like, say they'd go, hey, they'd ask the teacher, another teacher from another class, hey, I need to go to the restroom. Well, these kids, what they would go to the drinking fountain and fill up the water balloons, and then tie them up, and then they would go to another classroom, and then open the door, and then boom, just like throw the water balloons inside and take off running. And then they go back into the classroom, and nobody knew who it was that threw the water balloon or anything. So Mr. Wood, he would lock it was already well known that would happen, so he's like, because it's happened in his classroom a couple times. And then nobody really liked him, and then he was also an alcoholic, and he would be drinking in the classroom. He'd have his little cup of coffee, and then he had a little bottle. We would see him. He would open up his desk, and he would pull up the drawer, and then he'd open up a little like wine bottle, and he'd put a little shot of that stuff in his coffee, and he'd be drinking. I mean, you could smell it on his breath, when he talked to you. And then there was this kid that was one of the kids that was with my grandmother. My grandmother, I talked about my grandmother. She had foster kids, and they were in the classroom. They were in the classroom with us. In one of the classrooms I was in, that was one of them, and he was making noise. And I don't know, somebody got pulled over, Border Patrol, and so then in the classroom, he would always, you couldn't make any noise. Like he would give you your homework, and then he would give you a scratch paper so you could, do your like your other work on it, to figure out the problem. And then he wanted you to fold the paper, because if you would like crunch it up, he would like give you this look, hey, start yelling at you, hey, didn't I tell you not to be no noise? He wanted no noise, and everybody purposely, they would make noise, drive them crazy, I used to wear a watch, like a Timex, and it had the glass, on the watch, and with the hands, and then with my pencil, when he was, I would go like make a noise, like tapping noise, and then he would look toward me, and I was just like nothing, and this was a freshman year, and then somebody in the other area, he'd do the same thing, and then it's all like, all right, stop it, stop it. He start yelling at us and this and that, and then all of a sudden, then he's all oh, and one of the guys because he used to walk right in front, like he had his desk, and there was a desk right in front of him, but it had room to walk around him. And then the guy that stayed at my grandmother, he was the one. He would always be sitting. He would sit on that class, on that desk. He would sit on the desk that was right in front of the teacher. And then he would pull on purposely just to piss the teacher off. He would put his desk all the way up to the desk. He would put it right up to the desk, and then the teacher, he'd get mad, and then he'd like grab the desk, and he'd like, the kid was inside the desk, and he would pick up the kid and everything, he'd push, and everybody had pushed up the desk, purposely, because we love, we're kids, freshman kids in high school, we got nothing better to do but torture our teachers, and then so he's like and he pushes him like that, and then he when he pushed him back, in the whole desk, then he lifted his leg, the guy's name was Lorenzo, and then he lifted up his leg and he kicked the teacher in between his legs, and he's all like, you did that on purpose and this and that, that's it, get up. And he grabbed him and he took him outside, and everybody's like, oh, there's gonna be a fight. The teacher and the kids they're gonna fight outside, and then he took him outside the door of his classroom, and he's oh, that's it, you're going to the office, and then you guys better behave. He's all so then he took him to the office because of that, and then later on that day, that classroom, we're still in the classroom. And then he locks the door, so then somebody would knock on the door, and then there was a kid that was sitting, his name was Cartoon, and he would always sit by the door. And when somebody knocked, he'd go over there and open it, it was unlocked, it was locked. And he would open it, and the teacher, don't you dare open that door. And then he would open it up, and once he opened it, man, these three water balloons flying into the classroom, boom, hitting the chalkboard and everything. And then there was one that didn't break and it landed on the floor. It's like the water's like coming out of a little hole, and we're all laughing, but like, it's taking a piss, the water balloon, and the teacher was all like, that's it, I told you, you're gonna get it. And then we used to even put tacks, thumbtacks on people's desks, with the chairs. This one girl, she sat on it, and then she had a big butt. And we're all like, it didn't hurt. She had all that cushion. We used to joke about her because she was her butt, the way it was, we go, man, if you're on a cliff, if you're gonna like falling off a cliff and she's there with her butt, you can just put your hands and hang on to her, on the cliff, going, like, hey, help me, because that's how big her butt would stick out. And then she would always like walk, like to the front of the class, moving her behind, teasing all the boys, of course. And then one time they put a gum. She's like, gum, ruined her pants, And then we had another teacher. We had she was Mrs. Chapman. Her name was K.C. Chapman, and she was the reading. This class, it was, we went in there and, we were all the kids that were in there were a bunch of troublemakers. They had high school, they had seniors, there was all, and I got in there, because my reading wasn't too good. So then I ended up in that class, with all the kids. So then I'm like, we used to call her, KC and the Sunshine Band because her name was KC Chapman. So we used to call her, hey, Miss KC and the Sunshine Band. And then to top it off, this was her first year as a teacher and in high school. So this teacher, she didn't really know how to handle kids yet like us. So then she was like, oh, okay, so we would always do things. That I remember one day the teacher, she was in the classroom, and then somebody had fireworks, those little fireworks, because it was like close to, we were like close to where we go get fireworks. Back then you could buy all those elite, like the ones that are now illegal. Back then you could buy them. They were the small little firecrackers, but they still pretty big power. So then one of the guys, he thinks, oh, it's gonna be funny, throw a firecracker to the classroom, to the front of the classroom, and then we're like, oh, it's. I told him, oh no, and I saw him. I go, you do that, you're gonna get in trouble, man. We're gonna get the principal. He's gonna end up coming in here. Let's see who else is in here right now. Hey, Gary, how's it going? Hey there, Todd. Hey, Richard, Vicky, Richard, Odyssey, Crafty, Debbie, Gary, Richard, yeah. Yeah, so then he lights up the firecracker when the teacher turns around and starts drawing on the blackboard. This guy, he lights he's a senior. And then later on I find out that this guy that I know, I was he was in the class with me. He was a senior, I was a freshman. He happens to be my wife's older brother. But then I didn't know that back then. I didn't even know. I hadn't even met my girlfriend, my wife. But it's so strange, the things that. So then he's the one that throws the firecracker, boom, throws it over there. And then I'm like, oh shit, man, you're gonna get us in trouble. And then she also had a teacher's aide, but this teacher aide, he hadn't come into the classroom. He was barely getting in there, because this was right at the beginning of the classroom. So then he throws it up there and boom, it pops, and it's loud because we're inside of a trailer, one of those double trailers, and they have windows that you can like crank and close the windows, the shutters, stuff like that. So it's pretty dark if you close the shutters and turn off the light. So then the teacher, Mrs. Chapman, so like, oh, that's it. I'm tired of you guys. You guys are in trouble, this and that. And then so she calls the principal, the vice principal shows up. He's like, okay, well, who did this? And she goes, I don't know who did this, but it came from that area over there where we were sitting. So everybody there, take out your everything that's in your pockets, because if you're gonna be stupid, you're gonna still have more firecrackers, in your pockets, and luckily he only had one, and matches, of course. So, or a lighter, but yeah, so he's like, boom, it exploded. So then that's it, everybody in the office. So then they're like, oh, okay, that's it. You guys gonna get detention. So we got detention for a couple of days, like 5 of us. And then the teacher, she I guess she got sick. So we had a substitute teacher, and we had a substitute teacher for like 4 days, different teachers, substitute teachers. Why? Because every substitute teacher that we had, they wouldn't last. I mean, we the guys, everybody would torture the teacher, and
Man, she would tell, I ain't going back to that classroom. So they find some other person, and then that one, the same thing. The fourth day, there was this African American lady, and and then I'm like, oh man, and then and I go, man, these guys are they're gonna get us, they're gonna get in trouble again. But then the teacher's aide, right at the beginning of the class, he would go, hey, anybody want to go to the library? Because we're gonna go to the library, okay. And so then, oh, okay, so we go to the library. I go, oh, I figure, hey, we're not gonna get, I'm not gonna get in trouble. But then when we go to the library, a bunch of the guys, they go over there because they have crayons. They have crayons there at the inside the library. So all these guys start grabbing crayons and put them in their pockets and stuff. And I'm like, oh man, these guys are they're gonna drive drive this teacher crazy. So then the teacher, the teacher, we go back to the classroom with the teacher's aide. So when we're going back, the teacher's aide, the we the shutters of the classroom are closed. They're closed, so they're usually open. I'm like, oh shit, what the hell, what's going on? The window, the shutters are closed. So that means the room inside the trailer is going to be completely dark, that you can't even see anything. With the lights off. So we're going in there, and then all of a sudden, we get in there, and the lights are off. So then like these guys, they were terrorizing the teacher. They turned off the lights and throwing shit at her and stuff like that. And then we got in there, and then the teacher, she goes and tells the teacher, hey, go get the principal. That's it. These kids are they're getting in trouble. And then he takes off and leaves everybody there with the teacher by herself. So what happens? These guys turn the light off again. They start throwing crayons at her and everything. And I'm like, oh my God, that's it. We're gonna get in big trouble. And then the the funny thing is, she would open her eyes and smile, like her mouth, and you could just see her whites of her eyes and her teeth. That's the only thing you could see in the dark. And we're like, oh my God, they're throwing stuff at her, and she's screaming and like going, oh my God. And I'm like, and principal got the vice principal got there, and then she's all like, okay, all right. And then the next day, Mrs. Chapman, the teacher, she like comes in and goes, you know what? You guys, I had one more day of sick leave, but nobody would come and take this class. You guys, a bunch of terrible kids and this and that. And, she, and then we found out later on that basically she retired. The teacher retired. She said, that she had never had kids like that. I mean, we terrorized her for all the substitutes, and after that, we came out of the classroom. We graduated from that classroom at least, and we had to go back there. She didn't want those kids in the class anymore, so she just passed everybody. Gave everybody C's or whatever. But yeah, that was pretty crazy. Well, thanks everybody for coming. Thank you. God bless you, everybody. Thanks. Good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, wherever you are. And thanks again for coming here. And then, as I always say, as my friend Keith says, go call your mama and say you love her, because you never know how long you're going to have her. Bye, everybody. Have a good one. Till next time.